Yesterday, we heard the parable of the seed. And today, Jesus goes on teaching, but instead of giving us full parables, he gives us what are called wisdom sayings. What does wisdom mean? It's basically, follow this if you want to be a good person. And it's a one or two liner. We're used to them from Benjamin Franklin. A stitch in time saves nine. A bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Things like that. Well, he says, if you do something good, put it on a lampstand. Let everybody see it. The only problem is, in the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus says when you give somebody alms, don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. So which is it? And as always, when you come to two questions in the Gospels, the answer is yes. Is there a time that we shouldn't trumpet our good deeds? Yes. When our good deeds, letting other people know about them, will become a source of pride, a source of focus on us rather than the charity, then we should be careful not to let people know. It's kind of like sneaking into the chapel middle of the night. Don't do it because there's alarms. But you see that there's a lot of salt on the pavement, so you decide to sneak in and clean up all the salt. If nobody notices it, or in fact, if you hear somebody walk in and say, I wish they would clean this, after sneaking in the middle of the night to do it, blessed are you. Because now you're not doing it for recognition, but rather for service. There are other times, though, that you want to let people know what you're doing because it has an important message. For example, if you join a men's club and you want other men to know that there's this group in our parish that has really helped me, and just mentioning it to other people, inviting them, that's a good thing. Give you a silly example from my life. When I was in Rome studying, I was also working with Iraqi Christians. These were Iraqi men and women who had fled Saddam Hussein. And I was distributing money, and I would give it every other month, money that came from the World Council of Churches and from Caritas International. And Sarkis came in. Now, Sarkis was unbalanced on a good day, and he had been drinking. So he said, I need money. And I said, Sarkis, I gave it to you last month. You have to wait a month. So he took out a screwdriver and attacked me. The Iraqis in the next room heard this. They rush in, drag him out, and after a couple of minutes, one of them sheepishly opens the door and says, Father, should we beat him up? I said, no, you can't beat him up. And he looked really, really confused. And he says, oh, then should he disappear? No. The good deed that I had to do in public was the next day. I saw him walking down the road, and he wasn't staggering, so he probably hadn't been drinking. I put my arm around his shoulder and walked the length of the road with him because the people had to see that he was forgiven, that it was okay. Because otherwise he would have been beaten up or worse. There are times when it's important to share the good news. There's times when it's important to do it in secret. And we need wisdom in order to be able to figure that out. The second saying, the measure with which you measure will be measured back to you. If we're incredibly generous with what we've been given by God, if we share it selflessly, then we will receive a reward. Not in terms of more money or financial opportunities, but rather when we give to others, we're in God's image and likeness. Isn't God the one who gives all good things to all? And so to be in the image and likeness of God means to be generous. And the irony is, when we give as much as we can away, we're not holding on to things anymore. We're sharing them, and our hands are open so that we're able to enjoy not only what we receive, but all the things around us. This is St. Francis, isn't it? As St. Francis He tried not to hold on to anything. He told the friars, if you hold on to it, then you've got to protect it. And if somebody comes to rob, you might have to hurt them. So give it away instead. It's a lesson I've learned slowly, because certain things it's easy enough to give away. It's my socks. I'm giving them away. But other things, you would think it's easy enough for a friar, but it turns out to be not so easy. When I was here the first time years ago, I had a meditation book on the sayings of St. Francis. And there was a weekend retreat, and somebody took the book. And I was so angry that somebody took my meditation book. And isn't it great? I'm reading a meditation book on detachment, not owning, and I get angry when the book disappears. I should have seen it as an opportunity to share with somebody who really needed it. To be that generous, that we see the opportunities that are all around us. And sometimes, again, we have to be clever. We have to think through how to do this so that we don't continue certain problems. Do you give money to somebody who's begging on the street? We should give something, but maybe not money. Maybe McDonald's gift certificates in the hope that they'll use that to buy food, if McDonald's serves food. There's a debate on that one. But finding clever ways to help. And really waking up in the morning and saying, who can I help today? Instead of what can I get out of life? That's what Jesus is calling us to. Because the more our hearts are open, the more they'll be open to receive his love.